cut my pool noodle pieces to a length of about 1.5 inches each. With that length, I get quite a bit of bounce. At my studio, we teach a lot of acrobatic arts where people are doing flips and jumps and things on the floor all the time. So I like that amount of bounce in my floor. If you want less bounce in your floor, you cut those pieces a little bit shorter, maybe 3/4 or 1 inch. If you want more bounce, I wouldn't probably go any larger or anything bigger than about 2 inches. You're going to start causing some instability in the floor itself. Also, if you're putting on, for example, a hardwood topper with a nice finish on it, then I'd go with less bounce, any more movement in the topper than is necessary, and you might start to damage that surface. All right, so when you start the actual construction of the floor, I want you to cut just enough pool noodle pieces to stick on the back of one board. I install mine in sort of a staggered checkerboard pattern, about 5 across and about 10 down. This is going to vary a little bit depending on the diameter of the pool noodles that you buy, but for the small ones that I get, that's usually what serves me the best. I'm going to use a kitchen knife, serrated kitchen knife, to cut the pool noodles. I don't use a utility knife. The blade on those is just a little too short. It's just too hard to get the cuts consistent. And the kitchen knife is just the fastest way I've found to slice these things up, so that's what I use. And then you're going to use the liquid nails to attach these pieces of the pool noodle to the back of the 1/2 inch OSB. Now you take this board and you flip it over and you set it in place on your floor. I want you to continue the same process of cutting 50 or so pieces, sticking them to the back of a 1/2 inch OSB board and putting them in place until you have probably 3 to 5 pieces in place. This is an interesting system where you don't cut all of the pool noodles and then glue them to all the boards and then put all the boards in place. Once you have 3 or 4 of these in place and you can see that the system's going to work, you can go ahead and grab some friends and have them help do an assembly line, and you'll have this floor laid in no time. Once you have the entire floor covered with the 1/2 inch OSB with the foam underneath, it's not going to feel stable at all. Don't worry, once we put the tongue and groove on top, that's what creates the stability. Now, once your floor is covered with the 1/2 inch OSB completely, that's when you can start putting in the tongue and groove on top. Now, once again, we don't want any seams on the top layer to line up with seams on the bottom layer. So we're going to stagger the boards in that staggered checkerboard form again, so we can cover up all the seams on the bottom layer and create that stability throughout the entire construction. And that's it, you're done. At this point, all that's left is just to install your floor topper on top of your new floating subfloor. Now, some people do like to install some kind of trim around the top of the subfloor. In my studios in the past, I've used cove base, which is pretty common in commercial construction, build out where I live. One thing you do want to keep in mind is that this floor is going to settle significantly as the foam starts to kind of squish down as people step on it and just under its own weight. So after a couple of months even, I'd probably wait at least 2 months to install any kind of trim around the outside. Otherwise, if you install the trim at the height of the floor, it's going to drop. You're going to end up with as much as a 1/2 inch gap underneath that floor trim. Another option is to install the cove base first and then install the floor up to it so that you're basically covering the bottom of the cove base and a piece of it sticking up. That's the way I did it in my current studio, and I think that looks the best. Okay, let's talk floor toppers. By far, my favorite floor topper is traditional marley. It's industry accepted. You're going to find it in lots of dance studios. It's relatively inexpensive for how functional it is, how versatile it is, and how tough it is, how strong that stuff is. There are lots of finishes and different options available. You can literally install it with just a utility knife to cut it and some marley tape. Maintenance and cleaning are no-brainers. It's easier to pick up and take with you if you decide you need to do that in the future. And overall, I just think it's the best option. There are some other inexpensive vinyl options that come in costing quite a bit less than marley. And if one of these works for your studio, it might be a less expensive option for you as well. For example, at my yoga studio, I have an inexpensive faux wood vinyl flooring that I purchased just at my local big box hardware store. It came in at about 88 cents a square feet, and you're just simply not going to find an attractive flooring topper less expensive than that. The drawbacks to that one, it is not quite as versatile as marley is. The slipperiness of the surface might be an issue. You can go check this stuff out though. There's lots of options that you can even purchase small samples of at your local hardware store and set it down and jump around on it and see what it feels like. For me, for any art form that's taught barefoot, it works great. If you're teaching something that requires people to wear high heels or something like that, maybe it won't be quite as durable. Another drawback maybe is that the vinyl stuff, especially the inexpensive stuff, tends to off-gas for the first little part of its life. And so basically it just smells funny, and that's kind of the biggest problem with it. I've noticed this is especially a problem. I tried to install it one time in a heated room for heated yoga, and the smell was pretty much intolerable. If you take this stuff though and you purchase it and you lay it out, for example, in your backyard or something where it can get some sun for an entire day, that generally does a good job of sort of curing the vinyl itself, so that when you install it, you won't have that problem. And in any event, usually over the first month or so after installing it, all of that smell goes away. And like I said, it's probably not anywhere near as durable as Marley. It is just as easy to install. I wouldn't be tap dancing on the stuff or something like that. You're probably going to end up marking it all up, making it look pretty bad pretty quickly. Another cool thing though about this vinyl, any kind of vinyl really, is that you can purchase a seam sealant that you run down the seams in between two pieces, and you end up with basically a solid piece of flooring all the way across. You end up with a seamless floor, and I think that's a pretty attractive option as well. So like I said, if you teach something that people are mostly training barefoot, martial arts, yoga, tai chi, belly dancing, something like that, this is probably a good flooring option for you. I've seen a lot of studios build their floors out of fake laminated wood. I hate that stuff. It's way too slippery. If it gets wet at all, it's just ridiculously slippery. And in any sort of fitness environment, you can expect to have people sweating. You can expect to have people spilling water from water bottles on it or something like that. And I just don't like this stuff. Most of the time, this laminate flooring, I think it looks cheap. I mean, if you're going to do wood, go with wood. But also it's not rated for the large square footages and applications where it's actually installed. In other words, if you have a large open studio space and you're putting this laminate flooring together, the snap and click stuff, just from the temperature changes or people moving around on it, those pieces slip and slide against each other. They're not nailed in place, and you end up with gaps in the floor that you have to kind of scoot back together all the time. Sometimes that doesn't happen right away. It takes a year or two before the floor will start doing that, but that stuff is not rated for large square footages for that very reason. One of the nice things about that flooring is that the snap and click systems that they have in place today make it super easy to install. All you need is a chop saw and some time to put those things together. They can also be taken apart and moved with you. But with all of the downsides to that fake laminate wood, it's not something that I usually recommend. That being said, I actually do have it installed in one of my studios. It's a very small studio. The usable space in the studio is probably only about 12 by 15 feet, something like that. And we only use that studio floor for our little bitty like creative dance or creative movement classes for the preschool and younger age kids. Real wood. All right, real wood floors are awesome. They're beautiful. Maybe even what you teach at your studio actually just requires you to have a real wood floor. But they fail the test for what we're looking for in this model today. They're tough to maintain, needing to be refinished. Every time you refinish them, you have to close the studio for at least a week. Then everyone gets high during classes for the next month because they haven't aired out enough yet. Refinishing these things is really a mess. You're dealing with a whole heck of a lot of sawdust. You're dealing with a whole heck of a lot of just caustic chemicals that get up into your vents and just stick around for a really long time. They're just, in my opinion, too tough to deal with. They're beautiful. They're functional. I love the way that they look, but with all the drawbacks, once again, it's not something that fits the model that I'm looking for. And as I mentioned before, if you are installing a real wood floor, I want you to keep your fool little sponges to only about 3/4 of an inch. You're not going to get as much bounce as you would if you made those noodle sponges a little bit longer, but it's going to help retain the integrity of the surface of the floor, the finish that's on the top of that floor. Okay, let's review why the system that we've talked about today is really my favorite method for building and installing studio flooring. First of all, there's no glue between the layers. It's truly floating, and you can uninstall it and take it with you. Second, there are no screws or nails to come loose and puncture your floor topper. 3, you can take it with you when you move. 4, you can easily expand onto it if you grow your current space. 5, you can vary the amount of bounce in the floor by cutting longer or shorter pieces of pool noodle, and you can't do that if you just order custom sheets of closed cell foam. And here are a couple tips to make sure that your installation goes smoothly. First of all, shop at a lumber yard. They often have a lower price and more stock than like a Home Depot or Lowe's. Second, get your materials delivered. Some lumber yards will do this for free. Some charge as much as $100, but it's absolutely worth it. Think about it. How long is it going to take you to drive to the lumber yard, pick out the materials, load up your truck or trailer, drive back to your location, and unload it all? How much is your time worth? It's worth it. Have it delivered. Number 3, plan ahead for transporting pool noodles. 85 pool noodles is a lot of pool noodles. That's tough to carry and tough to transport. Keep the display boxes that the pool noodles come in if the store will let you have them. Number 4, check out other studios. Make it a habit when you're traveling anywhere to check out what other studios are doing and copy the successful ones. Number 5, head to the forums on our website. Ask questions and get involved. Creating a basic account is free. Last thing I really want to point out is that I've been using this flooring system for a long time. I had one of my floors in place in a studio for 7 years before I moved it to its current location, and it's been installed there for 3 more years. So for a total of 10 years, this thing has held up. It's doing really well. I haven't even thought about having to replace any piece of it yet. None of it's damaged, and it still has the same amount of bounce in it that it had when I first installed it. They hold up great and need almost no maintenance. Okay, I hope this was all helpful to you. As always, I want you to stay in touch with us and keep us updated on your progress. Please let us know what we can do to help you build a fantastic studio.